So Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu released this Friday, and it's already become the worst performing film in the Star Wars franchise. Over the course of its opening weekend, it's only made about $82 million. And for context, Solo, which was the previous worst performing Star Wars movie, made $84 million in its opening weekend. But then it went on to make $392 million worldwide at the box office. When comparing these numbers to that of the original trilogy, the prequels, or even Disney's sequels, it's a night and day difference. Rise of Skywalker, the worst performing mainline movie in the series, which was riddled with all kinds of controversies, still made $177 million in its opening weekend, more than double that of The Mandalorian. So what happened? I think anyone who's been paying attention to Disney's treatment of the Star Wars IP already knows that Disney has lost the trust of Star Wars fans, thanks to their constant pushing out of low-quality content. Just think about this. Since Disney purchased Star Wars in 2012, they've already released 6 films, 7 live-action shows, and various animated series and miniseries. Disney clearly prioritized quantity over quality. Most of these releases have been major blunders, like the sequel trilogy, Book of Boba Fett.
Like a panther. Yes?
Or, who could forget, The Acolyte.
The power of one. The power of two. The power of many.
Not only was this content bad in various ways, with poor writing, bad animation, etc., but more importantly, it was insulting to the fans. The content they were making seemed to go out of its way to alter the lore and just change the story of Star Wars. The Acolyte is a perfect example of this. And there's a reason that YouTube content creators farmed the crap out of this show back in 2024. The show changed previously established characters' ages, personalities, and morals, and most egregiously depicted these space witches as willing into existence the immaculate conception of 2 Force-sensitive babies who were the main characters, which completely ruins Anakin's story and the prophecy from the original films, as Anakin was supposed to be the only child born of immaculate conception, as he's the chosen one. The show seemed to be written by people who just wanted to degrade and take away from what Star Wars was.
I feel like I've been stabbed in the heart.
I mean, the Acolyte actually tried to push the Sith as the good guys and depict the Jedi as evil. I don't know why, but our modern culture seems to be obsessed with this idea that being evil is good and being good is evil for some reason. Our society's collapsing, isn't it? Regardless, the show was so controversial that Disney actually canceled it a month after it released. So Disney has been between a rock and a hard place with the Star Wars brand. As good as Rogue One and Andor are, and they are actually very good, I recommend them, they haven't been able to bring back fans who feel like they've been let down and burned time and time again by this corporation that just doesn't seem to care. Star Wars desperately needs a win. And not just a win, but a very big win. So that brings us back to The Mandalorian and Grogu. And it's not great. The Disney Plus shows like The Mandalorian and Ahsoka have been building up to this grand conflict. The rebellion is scattered and trying to rebuild the Republic after the fall of the Empire. Luke is off building his Jedi Academy, and off in deep space, Grand Admiral Thrawn, the smartest Imperial leader, is preparing to return from deep space to crush the rebellion and take back the Empire. Would be the perfect plot for a movie, right? Sure. But it has nothing to do with what they made a movie about. Instead, they decided to make a film about nothing. Not literally nothing, but you know what I mean. The film is effectively a generic Mandalorian side quest story. The film follows Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, and his sidekick / adopted child Grogu, as they're hired by the Republic to find an Imperial warlord. This leads them to the Hutts, who have information on Mando's target. They say they'll help him if he agrees to rescue their nephew and Jabba the Hutt's son, Rada the Hutt, who's been captured and made into a gladiator. Quick side note, I looked up Rada the Hutt just to make sure I was spelling his name right in my script, and I found this. This is a Rada the Hutt collectible figure selling for $300. Who is buying this? Who is going, yeah, I want to display a muscular slug monster in my house? That shows that I'm a true Star Wars fan. But hey, if you saw this movie and Rada the Hutt is your favorite Star Wars character, maybe you just always liked him since he was a baby in the Clone Wars movie. I don't know. This is there for you, okay? That's it's not actually related to anything in the movie that we're going to talk about. I just thought it was funny, so I wanted to bring it up. So Mando goes to this planet where Rada is being held. He watches a gladiator fight and then goes to meet with Rada. Mando decides he's going to buy Rada's contract and free him, but the guy who kidnapped Rada tells him that he's rigging the next fight so that Rada is killed because people are betting on it. Then Mando is knocked out by sleep gas, somehow. Never mind, he's wearing a spacesuit with a helmet that has filters in it, and he can breathe in space, but sleep gas, apparently, it gets in there, it gets to him. Then he wakes up in the arena, is forced to fight Rada, then they team up and fight all these monsters, and then they're able to break out, escaping to Mando's Razor Crest. As they leave, Rada tells Mando that his aunt and uncle, the ones who hired him, because Jabba's dead, actually want Rada killed, so that they become the rightful owners of Jabba's throne. Then Rada tells Mando that the Imperial guy that he was looking for is the same guy that enslaved him. Very convenient. So Mando decides to betray the Hutts and take Rada to safety, but the Hutts don't take kindly to that, and they send Embo, a bounty hunter from the Clone Wars, after him. They're captured but are able to escape again. Then they return to the Hutt's palace for a final battle, where they defeat the Hutts and Embo, and are saved by Republic fighters. Then Rada joins the Republic, and that's the end of the film. Now, the story here is nonsensical, and it gets worse the more you think about it. Like the Imperial warlord guy who kidnaps Rada to make him a gladiator, only to give him a contract that he can fulfill pretty quickly. And then the warlord decides he's just going to kill Rada, even though he's the star gladiator and a kidnapping victim. Like, what's the point of the kidnapping? He could have been trying to extort the Hutts for credits or something, but no, he just wanted a temporary gladiator. Okay. There's also stuff like the Imperial warlord being the same guy to abduct Rada, which is insanely convenient for the plot. And then also, being able to put the Mandalorian to sleep with gas, even though he has a filtered helmet on at all times, which he will never remove when he's around other people. At the very least, it does seem like Disney and Lucasfilm have learned from some of their previous mistakes. The film isn't political. It doesn't push a cultural agenda. It's not written to retcon the lore or insult Star Wars fans. It doesn't really rely on key jangling or cameos either, which a lot of modern Star Wars media does. It's just a bland, uninteresting movie that says nothing. It really does feel like a one-off episode or two of The Mandalorian that just got squished together and given a theatrical release. It seems like the filmmakers were terrified to make anything unique, as almost everything they've made in the past few years has been received negatively. And so they've just decided to make the most safe, generic film they possibly could, which I suppose is a step in the right direction, but it's never going to fix Star Wars. My biggest gripe with the film is that there's no character development or any kind of development. And this is an issue with Disney Star Wars and The Mandalorian especially. The Mandalorian has an arc in the first season of the show where he goes from being a somewhat cold-hearted bounty hunter to a caring father figure. But after that, they've done nothing with him. And they've never given any character development to Grogu, who only exists to be a cute mascot for the brand, and to act as a plot device when Mando and his allies need saving. Now, Rada mentions multiple times throughout the film that he doesn't want to be like his father, that he wants to be a better man, or slug, or whatever he is. Great setup. Only his mind is already made up by the time we meet him in the film. So there's still no actual character development here, in spite of such a great setup. Imagine a film where Rada actually idolized his father, but he was kidnapped and exposed to the rest of the world, and a rival warlord who acts very similarly to Jabba in some ways. Maybe he could start to change his mind after realizing the kind of evil these people are responsible for. I mean, prominent members of the rebellion and now the Republic killed his father. Yet he's just completely fine and even willing to join them at the end of the film. It would have been infinitely more interesting if Rada was written in a way similar to that, rather than just already being a good guy. Watching a character develop over time, becoming a hero through adversity, is what cinema and storytelling in general traditionally was about. More importantly, that's what Star Wars is all about. Think about Luke Skywalker's journey from a farmhand to a Jedi Knight, or Anakin's journey from a slave to a Jedi, then his tragic downfall into evil, and his eventual redemption and the fulfilling of the prophecy. You have plenty of side characters like this too. Han Solo, Lando Calrissian, Cassian Andor, Ahsoka Tano, Ezra Bridger, Asajj Ventress, etc., etc. There's probably thousands of Star Wars characters that you could cite here. In the end, I think that The Mandalorian and Grogu is a forgettable, soullessly formulaic film that doesn't amount to really anything of substance. It doesn't really justify its existence. It'll be entertaining for some children, sure, but comparing this to any other Star Wars film, it's just so predictable and pointless. There's no development, no stakes, no greater world building. The film isn't completely terrible, but it's not good, and it's definitely not going to save the Star Wars franchise. At this point, I don't know what will. Even when they make good content like Andor, people don't watch it because they've been burned too many times. I don't really consume much Star Wars content anymore, but I used to adore this franchise growing up, and it's such a shame that it's gotten to this point. There are so many stories to tell in this universe, so many characters to explore and create, yet they just don't seem to understand what they've got. Oh well, hopefully they figure it out one day. If you've made it to the end of the video, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you. I plan to create more reviews on films, games, and shows, along with some longer retrospective videos over time. And I've got a small channel, so if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. You're the best. Take care.